Hello, I'm Arayia Hawk of AHS-TV, and welcome back to AHS Spotlight. Today, I am joined with Mr. Newill. So, Mr. Newill, what all do you teach here at AHS?
I teach geocivics for 7th grade, and this year I got a new semester course, which is geopolitical conflict for U.S. military conflicts for a semester.
That's cool. What do you do outside of school?
My interest outside of school, obviously being the wrestling coach, wrestling's been a big part of my life since I was 4 or 5 years old, so that takes up a big chunk of my time, and my other passion is travel.
Where all have you traveled to?
A lot of places. I really love the British Isles, so England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. We go to Ireland a lot. We've been to several nations in Europe. So I mean, we this summer we're going to Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary. So that'll be fun.
That sounds fun. What would you say was your favorite place that you've ever traveled to?
I get that question a lot, believe it or not, and it's very difficult because every place has their own thing that makes it attractive. Like I'm really excited to go to Budapest this summer because my favorite building in all of the world is there, the Hungarian Parliament building. It's very unique. So that's, I'm looking forward to that. But I love Ireland. Probably, it's definitely up there in the top places I've ever been, just because the people are so welcoming. The pace is a lot slower than we're used to here in the States, and just everywhere you look, it's really pretty.
So you mentioned you're the wrestling coach. Did you wrestle through high school and college?
Yeah, I started, like I said, I started when I was like 4 or 5. Wrestled my whole life. Wrestled in high school, and then went to college to wrestle. I had a scholarship to wrestle at Pitt Johnstown.
What made you want to coach?
Wrestling's one of those things that it gave me a lot. I got to travel a lot because of wrestling. I got to see a lot of places, do a lot of things, and I felt like I needed to give back.
Is there any place that you would like to travel to that you isn't on your roster yet?
Yeah, so actually, believe it or not, I talk to my kids a lot about this because we talk about how important tourism is to a lot of countries, and it's unfortunate because there are some really cool places that I would love to see. Like I would love to go see places in Israel or places in Lebanon or places in Iran or Iraq, but it's just not possible right now, So it's good to talk to the kids about how important tourism is, but then also how tourism can be affected by the conflicts or the culture of the people that are there. So those are places I would love to go, but it's not possible.
Did you expect to become a high school teacher?
So from a very early age, I knew I wanted to do something with education. I've always loved school. I know it's weird, but it's just one of those things that I've always loved. And I know growing up, like my hero was Indiana Jones, and everyone always was like, oh, the adventures and things he goes on. But it wasn't because of that. It was actually because he was a professor. And I will never forget when I was in kindergarten, my mom asked me what I wanted to wear for my kindergarten picture, and I said a bow tie and a jacket because I wanted to look like Indiana Jones. And she's like, but the other kids are going to make fun of you. And I was like, I don't care what they say. So that was always a thing for me. Like I always wanted to be involved in some kind of education. So that's the path I took, and here I am.
What made you choose this district?
It was a really weird story, believe it or not. So I was out of college. I went to the University at Buffalo, and I coached wrestling for the university there, got my master's degree. And after 6 years there, I was looking to move home back to Pittsburgh, back to the area. And I started working for Shadyside Academy, and I was coaching wrestling there. And we wrestled Katanning at Shadyside. And one of the guys that was coaching for Katanning at the time, Jeff Putt, I wrestled him in college. So we were talking and, reminiscing and all this. And he had mentioned that there were going to be some openings in the district. So I figured, oh, all right, I'll see what it's like and see what it's about and apply and interview. And I interviewed, and I really liked it, and here I am.
I remember you mentioning that you've been in a few movies. Is that something that you're really interested in or no?
Yeah, I love doing stuff like that. If it's Pittsburgh is one of those places that we're very lucky that a lot of films and shows will film here. I think it's because there's a lot of like tax breaks and things like that they get. So there was an opportunity for the Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks, and I went in and did my audition or whatever, and I was able to be in that. And then I got to be in one of the Lone Wolf Manhunts. It was on NBC or something like that, and got to do a scene for that, for the Atlanta Olympic bombings, things like that. So it's just something fun that I like to do if I have the opportunity.
Did you get to meet Tom Hanks?
No, I didn't get to meet him, but I got to meet Matthew Rhys, the guy who's the reporter in the Mr. Rogers movie, who interviews Mr. Rogers and all that. He was really cool. He's actually Welsh. He's from Wales.
You mentioned that you have a child. What else do you do with your child?
So Knox started wrestling this year for the first year, which is interesting because being a wrestler and then having a child that wrestles is a whole different thing. Even though I coached for a long time, and it's just different. It's different. So that's been a lot of fun to go and see him. Wrestling's tough because you have to go out by yourself, right? And it's hard as a parent to be like, okay, go ahead, and then you kind of don't have control of it. But we've had a lot of fun with it this year, and he's done well. And a bunch of his little buddies wrestle that he plays soccer with. So during the fall and spring, he plays soccer, and then during the winter, he wrestles. So it's been a lot of fun. And he's also our travel buddy. He's traveled with us since he's been 10 months old. So, and he loves travel. So that's awesome.
Can you tell me about your dollar bills on the wall?
Oh, this thing. This is a real legend here. So the first year we were in the building, I had a 10th period class. There was $1 on the floor. I asked whose it was. Nobody would claim it. So finally, I got tired of asking, put a wad of tape on it, slapped it on the wall, and said, whoever's it is, come and claim it when you need it. So then it became, well, can I put $1 on the wall? And I said, fine, put your name on it, so if you ever need it, you can come get it. So now I've got this mess. But we do have some cool ones, though. Like I have Sal Ramirez brought me one in from Mexico. Rowan Schaefer brought me one in from Brazil. Caleb Kinsey brought me one from Jamaica. Colby Painter brought me one from Argentina. So it's kind of a weird little like thing that we have, but I mean, it's something that they're interested in. And so I don't know. It's one of those things to build a relationship with the kids that you have in your class.
I also see a bunch of Harry Potter memorabilia around your room. Are you really interested in that?
Yeah, I'm a super Harry Potter nerd. Like I read the books a million times, and it's a thing. Like I love it. I love the story of. It's really at the basis of the story. It's a story about good and evil, and it's about doing the right thing and being a good friend, and sticking up for people when they need to be stuck up for. So there's a lot of good lessons in it, and I think that's why I like it so much. But I've been lucky to experience things that I really like on a really a kind of a professional level, because both of my cousins worked for Universal. So when they started doing the whole Harry Potter thing at the park, we got to go like all the time. So, like, I would just, to visit my cousins, I'd be like, hey, we're going to come down to Florida and visit. And they'd be like, oh, do you want to go to the park? I'm like, what kind of question is that? Of course I want to go to the park. So, we got to see the original part, and then they built the new part with Diagon Alley and Gringotts and all that. So they had that. So we got to see that part and got to go into, like, the wand shop and, like, just totally nerd out. So, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I just like reading in general. I just got a new book. It's not new, but new to me. Madeleine Albright, our former Secretary of State, wrote it, and she actually was born in Czechoslovakia during World War II, and she actually recants the Nazis invading. Her parents actually had to send her away to live in England while that was happening. So her and her family eventually got out. They lived in England for a while. Of course, then they came to the United States. But, like, just hearing her tell the story of a country that was known in Europe for its dedication to democracy and things like that. And then, pretty much overnight, you've got this force, this evil force invading and taking over and taking all the government buildings and putting up the Nazi flags. And it's just incredible to think that happened to someone, and to hear them go through that part of the story is just, it's wild. It's a crazy story. So,
Are you really Englishy then?
am I what?
Englishy.
Englishy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, because I know in my classes I do a lot of writing, which social studies classes don't typically do, but it's so important because that's the way you learn about my subject, because it's all nonfiction. So if you don't know how to find the answer in what you read, then you're pretty much lost. So yeah, I do have a minor in that, so, and short stories, that's ever going to help, but
What is your favorite project that you do in your classes?
Oh, at the end of the year, I have the kids get to make their own country, and I have so much fun with that. I probably have more fun than they do, just because it's a point where you get to see the kids do something that they want. They get to make all the decisions on what their country's shaped like, what their dollar bills look like, what their flag looks like, what's on it, why it's on it. They get to make their own government if they want to. So it's just, I get to see a little bit of them in their project, right? A girl made a country based on the beach. I'm like, so I learned she likes the beach. I'm not going to know that about her, you know what I mean? But it's neat that you get to learn these things about people. And there was one particular kid made a country based all on Greek gods, and all his money was Greek gods. So, that's pretty cool that, you get to kind of learn a little bit about a person, because they're making that country about them, right? And it's about what they like and what interests them.
To wrap this up, is there anything else you would like to mention?
Last year, I had the opportunity to take a class with Oxford University. I got accepted into a continuing education program, and I got to take a class with a practicing archaeologist. So he's a field archaeologist. He goes on digs. He discovers things and stuff like that. And it was a 13-week course, and it was just incredible, because foundationally, it was cultures that I teach the kids about, and how these cultures developed, why they developed, what they did, why they did it, what human needs they were around, the water, food, whatever. I got to learn that from someone who's actually out there, discovering it. And I got to bring that to the kids, which is incredible. And a really weird coincidence about that. So I did a writing about the Vikings being in North America first, before other Europeans like Columbus and things like that. And I was just having a conversation with my professor that was running the archaeology course, and I told him about doing that. And he's like, wait, was that the dig in Lonsdale Meadows in Newfoundland? And I was like, yeah. He's like, my best friend did that dig. I was there. He's like, I actually did work with him on that dig, and I didn't know that. It was just an article from my archaeology magazine, and so I was like, this is good, because it's good research. So I just did it because it was in there, and I didn't realize, but he was at that dig. It was just a weird coincidence. So then we talked about that for a little bit too.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Newill.
Thank you, guys.